Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams. In this episode, we're going to be looking at underwater UFOs solved. Let me go to share screen and we'll look at some artwork first. We're going to be looking at some artwork from the upcoming. We're going to be looking at artwork from my own upcoming graphic novel, Scumdogs, and then we'll have some fun looking at this article, folks. Okay. I sound a little bit out of it for some reason, but don't worry, I'm right here. But here we go, folks. Here is the Extreme 90s cover from a graphic novel. I did this cover to harken back to the comics of the early 90s. I'm burning now, folks. Either way, I did this cover to harken back to the early 90s to have some fun and basically remind you of when comics were good. Now, the Scumdogs, they're your classic Saturday morning cartoon villains trying to take over the world. Why? Because that's what Saturday morning cartoon villains do, or what's what they do, folks. Either way, the Scumdogs, they were once competitors for this corporation known as the Scumdog Experiments Incorporated. You see, in the far future, thanks to advancements in magic and science, people can turn themselves into gods or monsters and compete for fame and fortune. The Scumdogs competed in experiments held with monsters as the athletes, and they were known as Scumdogs because they competed for the Scumdogs Corporation. Either way, they were banned for basically, being villains and idiots, and they decided to basically use their powers to take over the world. They kept calling themselves Scumdogs, though, just to piss off the owners of the corporation that banned them. Either way, they're led by Death Mug. Death Mug is the Scumdog's cyborg overlord. He's the guy with the middle skull mask over here for a face. Death Mug is an over-the-top arrogant villain who's basically a parody of various villains from 80s and 90s cartoons. You can see in the way I designed him. For one thing, he has a skull for a face that makes him resemble Skeletor, who is the arch enemy of the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe cartoon, because both characters had skulls for faces. But if you notice all the middle spikes coming out of his cyborg head, Death Mug also resembles Monstar, the main villain of the Silverhawks cartoon. Like those villains, Death Mug is an over-the-top villain who wants to rule the world, but is as dumb as a brick with an ego the size of Mount Everest. But don't worry, folks, he's in good company too, because his arch-enemy, the hero of the book, is just as stupid and arrogant as Death Mug himself, Buick Starpoon. Buick Starpoon is this guy with the pompadour hair with a little palm tree growing out of it. Buick Starpoon leads the Wild Rangers, who are basically my parody of G.I. Joe crossed over with Starfleet from Star Trek. Buick Starpoon himself, he's basically what you get if you take Duke from G.I. Joe, crossed him over with Buck Rogers and Captain Kirk, gave him a lobotomy and his own overinflated ego, and you get Buick Starpoon, an idiotic military commander that's more arrogant, stupid than he is competent. Either way, he leads the Wild Rangers, and because they're G.I. Joe parodies, that means each member of the Wild Rangers, including Buick Starpoon himself, they all have military specialties like G.I. Joe's. That's their special skills and abilities. Buick Starpoon's special skill is that he's a starship captain who leads the Wild Rangers into battle. Now, all the Wild Rangers, by the way, also wear the same uniform. They wear this sort of space cadet looking Starfleet looking uniform that Buick Starpoon is wearing. So anyone on this cover wearing this uniform that Buick Starpoon is wearing, they're a member of the Wild Rangers. So let's look at them now. Over here, this guy with the mohawk, his name is Roadhog. His military specialty is that he's a soldier from the U.S. Army. He was transferred over to the Wild Rangers to fight the Scumdogs. Likewise, we have Beach Pounder. He's this bald guy with the gun down here, folks. He was once a member of the Marines. Then we have Blast Tank. Blast Tank is this guy with the helmet over here, folks. See him? His skill is that he's a tanker. In other words, he drives around weaponized vehicles like this or tanks. And of course, all the characters you can see are all on this cover, which is one of three variant covers. That means when you back my book, you'll have a choice of 3 different covers for your copy of your book. Either way, then we have Girl Friday. Girl Friday is a female member of the Wild Rangers. She's this woman right here with the short hair. Girl Friday was assigned to the Wild Rangers by her superiors to babysit them and make sure they do their jobs. Too bad no one on the team actually listens to her, and basically she hates all of them because of it. Mostly, Buick Starpoon orders her to basically sit and spin, and which makes her hate him all the more. Either way, she's really a nag. Either way, then we have Death Mug's henchmen, Murder Mouth and Sloppy. Sloppy is the big fat guy with tentacles growing out of his head, and Murder Mouth is the, well, guy wearing the top hat and leather jacket. These two guys are your classic henchmen villains, total idiots, but fun to read about when you back my book. Then we have Hair Metal Doctor, the guy standing next to them, the guy with the surgical mask, wielding the electric guitar, along with Miss Breasty Mullins over here. She's this woman with the long blonde hair. Now, both characters are parodies of characters from the G.I. Joe cartoon or part of the Joe's Enemy Cobra. Both characters are parodies of Dr. Mindbender and the Baroness. Dr. Mindbender inspired me to create Hair Metal Doctor over here because his costume on the G.I. Joe cartoon honestly made Dr. Mindbender look more like a hair metal musician than a mad scientist. I thought, why not create a villain who was a hair metal musician and a bad guy? So I came up with Hair Metal Doctor, who rocks out while doing mad science, who was hired by the scumdogs after they became villains. It's why he's a human and not a monster like the rest of them. Either way, he invents weapons and machines for them to take over the world. And Miss Breasty Mullins, as I said, is a parody of the Baroness. The Baroness was Cobra's top spy and information agent. She was an incredibly rich woman who became a terrorist and wanted to help Cobra take over the world. In contrast, Miss Breasty Mullins is also an incredibly rich woman. Yeah, but she was the CEO of her company. Well, she was the CEO of her own company and had everything, but she was bored. When the scumdogs became villains, she decided to join up with them and help them take over the world. Not because she believes in them, but because she thinks it will be fun. That's Scumdogs, folks. Go back and when it's finished, hit that like button for me. Please share this video out. Yeah. Remember, there's a link on the pinned tweet on my Twitter page at 777 MegaChris1. You can use it if you want to see this live, want to see this stream again, folks, and stuff like that. So it's at 777, well, MegaChris1 on YouTube or on Twitter, or should I say on X now. Either way, please share this video out. Now let's go over here and look at some Indiegogos, perhaps, before I continue. Just a moment, folks. I'm gonna get it up here. Here we go, folks. Here we have Starbarian Tales. This book is over 112 pages of action, comedy, babes, and blood, and you can back it for, well, $30 for the physical copy, or £24 if you happen to back it in Britain. Either way, this book looks great, folks. The synopsis of it is that the synopsis is that Starbarians are intergalactic heroes for hire in a universe of titans and turmoil. Violent, hedonistic Kilgars often at odds with valiant, optimistic Hogstrong, but the duo must work together if they're to stand against a threat that's worse than 10 Kilgars combined. When a band of assassins make an attempt on the life of the seemingly mortal Kilgar, the Starbarians must search our forgotten world for any hope of answers. Their journey leads them into the subterranean dwelling of Varg, an all-powerful tyrant hell-bent on Kilgar's destruction. Come with us on a barbarian adventure of brutality, babes, and bros in space in Starbarian Tales 1. Not bad, folks. Yeah, as I said, you can back up for $30. But maybe let's take a look at the trailer for it as well. And that was the Starbarian Tales trailer, folks. Looks good. Looks very good. Either way, let's go over here and maybe look at, well, let me do this. Yeah, we have 922. Let me go over here to King Cryptid. let me jump right into the synopsis of this book. This episodic ongoing monster mystery series follows New England's supernatural hero, King Cryptid. Every issue has a complete story and is part of a larger continuity, printed in a classic style with glossy covers and newsprint interiors, created, written, lettered, and designed by Peter Schimmetti, published by Alternate Comics. In these 5 issues, King Cryptid will face White Mountain Yeti. Issue 6, well, that's basically, well, in issue 5, he encounters White Mountain Yeti. Issue 6, he encounters Dragon Verdurkin. Issue 7, he meets Windy the Werewolf and the Cryptid Hunter Victor Lugo. Issue 8, he fights the Zeta Reticulons. Issue 9, he basically punches out the Pukwudgies, or maybe encounters them. Either way, you can back these issues 5 through 9 for $15. That's pretty good, folks. Either way, that's King Cryptid. Now let me go over here, folks. Should we look at one perhaps? Maybe one more? Yeah, let's look at one more comic book, folks. The Blue Bombshell returns. Hey, comics fans, the Blue Bombshell is back, baby, and this time around she's facing off against a whole new slew of supervillains and arch enemies as everybody wants a piece of the Blue Bombshell. I mean, new bad guys, Thundercock and Super Tits, are looking to make Bombshell regret ever becoming a superhero in the first place. And you can back this book for $25. You have a choice of several different variant covers. Here's covers A through D, folks. Here's cover A. Looking pretty good, folks. Here's cover B, which is a homage cover to Jim Lee's X-Men 272, a classic homage to a classic issue of X-Men, folks. Then we have, cover C, which is basically an adult cover, folks. As you can see, that means the characters are actually nude on the fronts, despite these censor bars in front of what you see here, folks. This is cover C, and cover D is also an adult cover, folks, and both of them look pretty good. As I said, you can back each cover for, cover A and B for $25, folks. If you want covers C and D, it's going to be $50 to back both covers together. Either way, you can also do this add-on Trump Wins variant cover for $25. That means when you're checking out, you can basically hit the add-on button at checkout. At checkout, and you can add this cover for $25 more. Not bad. Now let's take a look at this trailer here, folks. All right, that was the Blue Bombshell Returns campaign. Looks pretty good, folks. All right, now let's go over here and get ready for my. Let me go to the news layout. Let me stop screen, go over here, and let's take a look at this article, folks. Now, mystery of underwater UFO solved. Secret Navy program revealed. Now, newly developed information suggests that the top secret military technologies may account for some UFOs that have been seen to fly out of the ocean or fly from the sky and then enter the ocean. Often called USOs, reports of these unidentified submersible objects have been made with increasing frequency, including by amazed pilots. It can now be revealed that an elite group of defense contractors on behalf of the U.S. Navy has designed, manufactured, tested, and is now operating exotic an unmanned submersible aircraft of futuristic appearance. They can fly through the air and then enter the ocean. They can become some subsea vehicles. They conduct spy or warfare missions in the ocean and then break out of the water as atmospheric vehicles. Other systems are dedicated to vertical takeoff from the ocean depths into the air, but are not meant to re-enter the sea, but instead descend onto land after completion of their mission. These ultra-advanced crafts have been misconstrued as alien UFOs because these unconventionally shaped objects can fly into and hurl out of the sea and exhibit extraordinary aerial maneuvers, which include right-angle turns at extreme speed. Technical military documents have been found buried within Defense Department archives that detail these stunning craft. The involved defense contractors and types of craft are identified. For the first time, an engineer with high-level security clearance speaks about these crafts, missions, and how they relate to UFOs and public perception. A discovered paper shows that such U.S. Navy technology development programs began an astounding 82 years ago. Okay. Here are the covert craft, at least basically diagrams and some, actual pictures of them. General Dynamics unmanned hybrid vehicle. Okay, can it actually fly, folks? It might. This one looks like basically a drawing, and this goes here. But here, this is clearly one of these unmanned supposed vehicles, folks. It does look rather alien looking, but does it actually fly? It looks like it could go underwater, but I'm just not quite sure, folks. Either way, here's a DARPA manned submersible aircraft concept. Another diagram and basically a concept drawing of one of these unmanned submersible vehicles, apparently. Either way, the Navy launch of undersea air vehicles, apparently. All right. Either way, these revolutionary craft are referred to by defense contractors variously as hybrid platforms, submersible aircraft, transmedium vehicles, and by other names. The craft blend unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV, and unmanned underwater vehicle, UUV, technologies so that a single craft can traverse both the sky and the ocean and with impunity. Some of these vehicles carry human passengers. The images above represent early versions of various classes of vehicles. The Navy now has hybrid aerial underwater vehicles, HAVs, HAUVs, that are several generations advanced from those shown in those rare. HAUVs, folks, that are several generations advanced from those shown in these rare pictures today. Vehicles are far more evolved and they remain highly classified. So you say. But apparently people know about them now, folks. Is this actually the truth? Is basically all the signs of these UFOs that have been seen entering and exiting the water actually these crafts, both manned and unmanned, perhaps? It is certainly something to think about, isn't it? And very interesting if it is true, folks. Very interesting if true, folks. But let's continue. The three major craft categories. There are three major categories of these types of hybrid aerial underwater vehicles: unmanned vehicles, manned craft, the undersea to air vehicles. Unmanned vehicles, manned craft, and stuff like that, and undersea to air vehicles. Unmanned vehicles, as shown in the first images above, offer unique military advantages. There are no pilot casualties, nor loss of life of those operating the craft remotely. They can perform with extreme agility and without regard to G-force because they carry no people. They offer large payload capacity for weapons and equipment. Manned craft, as shown in the second image above, carry human passengers. The concept manned submersible aircraft shown above was from 15 years ago. Indications are that there are now fully realized operating vehicles of this type. Manned craft are far more adaptable in unforeseen circumstances than unmanned vehicles. Humans can conduct experiments, gather data, and perform repairs on site, often with a higher degree of precision and creativity than unmanned vehicles. A manned aircraft is also useful in contested environments where command and control is limited. Indeed. In contested, what they're trying to say with contested environments, basically, if you basically use this weapon or this vehicle in basically areas where people are fighting each other, like in a war environment, these vehicles basically offer far more, as they said, are far more because you can basically, if you're basically being fired on, you can basically use this you use this craft and submerge yourself underwater so no one can shoot you anymore. If you have to face people basically with other submersible, if you're basically facing other submersible objects like basically submarines, you can basically take to the sky to evade them and their torpedoes. In fact, folks, it sounds like you basically take a concentrated effort of both air, land, and land, air, and sea forces to basically combat these vehicles. Remember, they said that these vehicles can land on land. So basically like an airplane. So you can see how they can basically avoid enemy forces by basically changing from one environment to another, and indeed where basically a large area of operation that they can basically operate in without basically taking fire upon themselves. And in actual combat, we haven't basically read that part yet, folks, but I can imagine that if these vehicles right now, maybe they're not the best combat vehicles possible, but eventually something like this would, if you can basically make it work, would be truly would be a very valuable vehicle that any military would want. Imagine basically if you have this vehicle and has a payload on it, you can basically sail under the ocean, then basically fly into the air and then bomb someone basically without them even knowing that you were there to begin with, because you basically fly under radar operators because you'd basically be underwater before taking off into the air. So I can see, yes, this changes the way we would fight war in the future, folks. Both with unmanned vehicles. Remember, with the current drone technology we have, folks, those drones are basically limited to flying vehicles. But if you can make if we can make variants of them, they can basically sail underwater and then take off into the air with a payload. Well, you can see what an advantage that is. And as I said, folks, manned vehicles offer even more advantages because, you have a pilot basically with his own, with a skill and basically a knowledge of how the craft works. He could fly under the water or basically fly in the air to an object, bomb it, and then escape by basically submerging his object underwater, or vice versa. As I said, folks, truly a very, very intriguing notion here that we're looking at. And apparently this began over 70, 80 years ago and stuff like that. They were trying to develop these vehicles. Very, very, very interesting. Now, before I continue, let me go over here. As well, folks. We have 4 watching. That's good. All right. Let me do this. Yeah, we have 5 watching or so. So let's continue. Feel free to leave me a few chats, folks. I would love to hear from you guys. But let's continue with this. Undersea air vehicles. Okay. As shown in the third image above. In fact, let me, third image above, folks. I think this is what they're talking about here, folks. Third image right here. Yeah. Because there's 2 images here and this one right here. I think this is what they mean by the third one, or they mean this one here. But either way, as shown in the third image above, are smaller scale subsea air drones. Oh, indeed, folks. This is why I thought this one could be, because it looked too small to basically be an aircraft. So yeah, this is a drone right here. That drone that they took a picture of. Yeah. As shown in the third image above, are smaller scale subsea air drone-like vehicles that are especially useful in reconnaissance missions by using sensors and photographic technology. Highly maneuverable, they can also be armed and carry charged devices. They are shot out from deep beneath the ocean through long, extendable, high-performance launch tubes that are attached to specially equipped submarines, often located far below the water's surface. Yeah. So this is basically one of these launch tubes, and basically it shoots out one of these drones that flies out and into the air, and can then basically either deliver a payload or basically spy on the enemy. Very, very interesting. See, I wasn't quite sure what this was because it looked too small to basically be a manned aircraft. So was it a drone? Indeed, this is exactly what it is, folks. And it shows the diagram. You see one of these drones emerging from one of these undersea tubes. Yeah, from one of these undersea launch tubes. Very cool. In fact, let me try blowing it up. No, I guess it won't let me blow it up. Too bad. But either way, that is indeed what it's showing there, folks. Now, all of these technology categories can react offensively from the air. Conversely, they can all surprise attack enemy aircraft by launch from the subsea. They all surveil and gather They all surveil. That mean they basically They can put objects under surveillance, or basically enemy forces under surveillance, folks, and gather intelligence. In their own way, each helps to unite the air and the undersea as battle space domains. Indeed, I can see how that could be indeed the truth, folks. Actually, that is the truth. Now here, folks, we have China unveils one of its aerial underwater vehicles. So it looks like another launch tube launching a drone here, folks, because it looks too small to me. And stuff like that. So yeah, here we have another China basically testing out their own underwater drone launch technology and stuff like that. Now, do you think that China got their technology from us? They steal a lot of the technology, and some of the technology they're using right now was reverse engineered from stolen blueprints that they basically stole from us. So is this yet another one, basically another technology that they got from us, folks? Did some idiot basically in government basically release this information to China? If so, they should face charges. I just find it odd that if this indeed is a picture of a Chinese, underwater launch tube launching one of these underwater drones, I wonder how they got this technology. So at least this picture leaves me with a bad taste in my mouth. That our enemies got technology so similar to us so soon after we developed it. Either way, it's an idea there, folks. Now, before we continue, we go back over here. We have 9 watching. Not bad. Okay, so we have 14 watching. Pretty good. Either way, once more, let's continue. Yeah, as I said, folks, China unveils one of its aerial underwater vehicles. So let's continue. Although the development of these craft is led by the Navy in the U.S., there are other nations that are operating similar technology. In August of 2024, China quietly unveiled the Sea Dart, shown in the photo above. Yeah, it does look like a dart, doesn't it, folks? The Sea Dart. Either way, little reported on, it can transition seamlessly between air and water environments. It employs a sophisticated design that allows it to take off and land vertically, operate underwater autonomously, and reemerge into the air at 0056 in the clip below. Underwater thrusters are activated, and you can see the craft emerge from under the ocean's waters. Here's a video of it, folks. Let me I want to see if I'll get a copyright strike. So let me go over here real quick. It doesn't look like it, folks. Indeed. Ooh, it looks like that I won't get a copyright strike. So let's take a look at this video. Let me blow it up. Here we go. Isn't that interesting, folks? Look at that dart. Look at that. Okay, so that basically flies. It flies in the air. It could go underwater. And this is one of China's, darts. Ooh. Vertical landing on ground. I see it. I still say this is disgusting, folks, because it's so similar to our own technology. Is it possible that maybe China basically got this from us? How disgusting if it is true. Yeah, you can see it landing vertically. Very much like one of basically Musk's, own space technology. You know, Elon Musk, he basically has his spaceships land like that. Vertical landing on water. Okay, here this goes, folks. See, it can basically transition from air to water very easily. Now imagine basically having these drones, folks. Yeah, here's a fast water exit and entry. Look at that. Goes up. That's scary, folks, because it shows how it can do. And can dive back in there instantly. Simulated mission. Release from dock. All right. Here it goes, folks. It goes out. Or basically, yeah. The guy is following, stuff like that. It goes out there. It flows under the water there. And then it disappears. As I said, it makes it. Can you imagine trying to track one of these things, folks? Or should I say, can you imagine our military trying to track one of these things? It'd be basically impossible. This is why they'd be good for, and there it goes, taking off, folks. And then, or basically returning and flying around. Yeah, it would be basically nearly impossible for our own military to track this, because it would basically just easily evade us as it goes underwater and flies, and then if need to, fly into the air. Yeah, and spy on us. That is disgusting, folks, isn't it? Now that might, it looks real, folks. Yeah. For a moment, I thought it could possibly be maybe CGI. Either way, rocks, yeah, water exit repeatedly. 2, your water exit repeatedly. 3, and so on, folks. This is basically drone is basically put through the tests. Well, put through various tests repeatedly, basically exiting and basically entering the water. Either way, kind of a very terrifying thing there, folks. That our enemies have this technology. Either way, what do you make of it, folks? I think it's a very bad thing. But so far, it doesn't look that well. So far, it looks just like a toy to us, right, folks? You're probably thinking that, but remember, if this thing had a bomb on it, I don't think you'd find it so funny like that, wouldn't you? Now, it wouldn't be able to carry this type right here. Would be able to carry a very large payload, but if you had a bomb on it, it could certainly take out a squad of soldiers, wouldn't it, folks? Either way, yeah, that is terrifying. Either way, yeah. It was interesting. Maybe we'll take another look at that video later on, folks. Be the right, well worth our time to look at that. Now, the government documents that reveal the technology. So let's continue. Several technical documents and images found within the archives of the Defense Technical Intelligence Center, DTIC. It's DTIC, folks. Also, I guess the acronym for DTIC. Government loves its acronyms. Either way, DTEC and other repositories confirm such extraordinary underwater aerial hybrid vehicle technology. And they go on to say submersible aircraft concept design study. This study was authored for the Naval Surface Water Center for a department known as the Ship Systems Integration and Design Department. From the summary page, we learned that this is related to a submersible aircraft study that combines the speed and range of an airborne platform with the stealth of underwater vehicle by developing a vessel that can both fly and submerge. The full document can be viewed here, and maybe we'll take a look at it later on, folks, if we have the time. Either way, indeed, folks, we are developing this kind of technology, and as I said, folks, earlier, we've been trying to develop this technology for over almost basically, I guess, over 70 years now. Maybe it will take or basically somewhere like that, folks. I guess just after World War II, during the start of the Cold War, we were trying to develop this technology for espionage and warfare purposes. Either way, fascinating. Now, let me go over here real quick, folks. We have 6 watching. That's good. We have 13 watching. So we have 19 watching. 20 watching then. Sorry about that. Yeah, 20 watching. Either way, once more, let's continue. Now, unmanned 3 environment vehicle. This study was again authored by for the Navy, for the Naval Surface Warfare Center for this, but this time for the Aerial Architecture and Engineering Department. From the summary page, we learned that that this is related to design of an unmanned autonomous vehicle capable of operating in air and on the surface and underwater was explored to assess technical and technological issues required by such a vehicle. The full document can be viewed here. As I said, folks, we can basically look at that document later and stuff like that. Let me finish off this article, and if we have the time, I'll take a look at these other articles. Then we have Project Air Nautilus. DARPA BAA 0906. Over 15 years ago, DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, which works closely with the U.S. Navy, issued a broad area announcement. BAA calling it for designs of a transmedium vehicle, a submersible aircraft for use in future coastal insertion missions. The full document on Project Air Nautilus can be seen here. Air Nautilus. DARPA was interested in proposals from defense contractors for an aircraft that could travel underwater. DARPA was particularly interested in an aircraft that would fly to the target area, land on the ocean, submerge, approach the coast, drop special operations operatives, loiter offshore, collect the returning troops, and then take off to fly back to base. One response to this BAA came from the U.S. Naval Surface Warfare Center, NSWC, Carter Dock Division in Maryland. The design featured a crew of two and space for up to 6 passengers and their equipment. Carter Rock published their designs in 2010 and noted that the small-scale models had been constructed and displayed satisfactory flight characteristics. Crucially, the report concluded that the creation of a workable submersible aircraft was feasible within the current state of the art. Indeed, folks. Okay. Now, the Seabird-inspired fluxed-wing hybrid UAV system. Concepts for such technology can be derived from unexpected places. A sponsored design study undertaken at North Carolina State University in 2018 resulted in the creation of an undersea aerial vehicle based on the aerodynamics and underwater dynamics of the seabirds. It successfully demonstrated egress from water, flight in the air, ingress into the water, and each flight and water locomotion. Yeah. The document can be viewed here, Seabird-inspired hybrid system. So basically, they took the inspiration from the seabirds, how they can exit and enter water, how they can basically egress from the water, exit it, and basically fly, and then enter the water as they basically dive under. Let me hit that link as well, folks, and if we have the time, maybe I'll take a quick look at that. We have to get back to this article, though. Now, what these papers discuss only hint at what was actually being accomplished. The Navy periodically requests and commissions designs and studies from defense contractors and academia. This is done to gain fresh and outside perspectives on how to advance existing systems to next generation craft. Indeed. Here's figure 7, a baseline concept of what they were talking about here, folks. Yeah. Here's one of these submersible vehicles that they want to create. Or basically maybe we already have working designs on this. Basically, vehicles like this that can basically be used to fly underwater and then exit and fly into the air, or basically exit from the air into the water. Yeah, they both want manned and unmanned vehicles, and they have the concept basically, and sometimes they just have the concepts for this while actually having real workable variants of this with the drone technology. And apparently, maybe this is what people have been seeing for decades now is USOs. At least part of them, folks, and not all of them. But is that true for all UFO sightings that basically have these UFOs entering the water? I don't know. I kind of have my doubts about that. But I can just say, yeah, indeed, some of those sightings were probably basically craft that were controlled by the government being tested. And in fact, these things I basically find more acceptable than other UFO sightings, folks. Because if you're going to test something like this, you test it over the ocean. So and people occasionally would see them. In these cases, folks, I find this easier to believe. Now, a lot of people basically argue that a lot of UFOs are basically craft that are controlled by the government. I have my problems with that, saying it's all the same thing, folks. But in this case, folks, the ocean is basically a vast empty area and stuff like that. So basically, occasionally people would basically witness these craft being tested. But is that true for all of them, that they're all controlled by the government? I have my doubts about that too. But at least in this case, folks, I find it more readily available and believable that some of these crafts that are being seen are indeed basically test flights for these both unmanned and basically manned craft that both enter the water and can fly and can exit the water and fly into the air. So I believe that. Now, let's continue. The image above is of another U.S. Navy DARPA developed design concept for a hybrid manned air subsea vehicle. This image is from a PowerPoint presentation made by the Navy Surface Warfare Center a decade and a half ago. The Navy conducted a study that would determine the feasibility of building a manned submersible aircraft that could insert special forces operators covertly at a higher speed and more independently that is currently achievable. See the link below for more information, I guess, right? Yeah. Here, the U.S. Navy admits that at the time, 15 years ago, there were submersible aircraft that carried passengers and that the higher speed was desired. So they had basically manned aircraft that could basically enter and exit the water, but they wanted a higher speed because it was desired for that. They wanted a vehicle with better speed. Either way, future work. Let's read this part, folks, right here. Control design, user interface, dynamic modeling simulation, and flight submerge. What they wanted, folks. And here's what else they wanted. Full aircraft CFD analysis, more in-depth structural analysis. Basically model and basically improve the design here, folks. They wanted a more in-depth structural analysis and basically probably to improve the way it flies as well as basically a better design. Full aircraft CFD analysis. Better understanding of this vehicle. as well as basically as what they wanted in the future, folks. They wanted the controller design. They wanted a better user interface, basically easier control, dynamic modeling and simulation. Basically, if you're basically flying it, they want this thing to basically completely, I imagine, basically completely copy them. Well, the movements and basically hand gestures of the pilot and stuff like that is basically flew around. So basically there wouldn't be no lag. And in flight, and basically they wanted this same thing to basically fly as well in the air as well as basically submerged. Meaning they basically wanted to behave basically as well in the water as it would in the air. And very interesting, folks. I imagine that's what they were trying to say there, folks. But it was basically spitballing ideas too. Either way, let me go over here real quick. We have 23 watching. That's pretty good. Okay, we have 29 watching, 30 watching. That's pretty good as well, folks. Either way, pretty good so far. But let's continue. Now, the image above is thought to be a proposal for, this image right here, folks, of an aerial undersea vertical takeoff and landing Vodal craft, a small vehicle that can take off and land vertically without relying on a run space and that can traverse both under and over the sea and land on ground. I can understand that too. In 2010, NSWC Carderock Naval Service Warfare Center. Yeah, that's the acronym for NSWC, folks. Yeah. Naval Service Warfare Center Carderock Division published a unique vehicle concept. The idea was to research the feasibility of designing a vehicle that combined the speed and range of an airborne platform with the stealth of an underwater vehicle by developing a vessel that can both fly and submerge. The conceptual design for this vehicle appears as the second image under the covert craft section of this vehicle. The ultimate goal was to work towards developing a vehicle that could insert and extract special forces units at a much greater ranges and speeds than existing platforms at the time, as detailed in this link, Submersible Aircraft Concept Design Study. Indeed. Okay, let me read part of this again, folks. The speed and range of an airborne platform, that's what they wanted here, folks, with the stealth, They wanted to combine the speed and range of an airborne platform with the stealth of an underwater vehicle by developing a vessel that can both fly and submerge. This concept designed for this vehicle appears as the second image under the covert craft section of this article. It appears under basically more information about this, and as well basically images of this more images of this craft basically are under the covert craft section of this vehicle. Okay, I get it. So there's more images of these vehicles and stuff like that, and they're basically covert vehicles that the government wanted to develop. I just wanted to reread that part again, folks, before I continued. Okay. So I mentioned we were going to basically possibly see a few more images of this. It's basically, these images are basically in this link here, folks. So I could basically tap that out there, and we might take a look at it later on. Either way, I have to still get through this article here before we look at any of these other articles. That is, if we have the time. Either way, other indications of such aerial underwater craft technology include the history of a system known as, Cormorant. Cormorant was a Lockheed Martin skunkworks concept for a submarine-launched unmanned air vehicle. The design was a response to the DARPA multi-purpose unmanned air vehicle, MPUAV, or Marpuvav. I imagine it's this MPUAV program, which began in 2003, folks. So I wasn't quite sure. Sometimes these acronyms, you can basically make a kind of word out of it. This DARPA multi-purpose unmanned air vehicle. Either way, this program, which began in 2003, Lockheed partnered with General Dynamics Electric Boat Makers of Nuclear Submarines and Teledyne Turbine Engine Company, which received millions of dollars in DARPA funding for a Phase 1 demonstration. The 19-foot-long jet-powered stealthy UAV was launched from a modified missile tube of a Navy ballistic missile submarine, and then boosted from underwater and into the air by naval rocket boosters. The system was tested in the Hood Canal records indicate that Cormorant was seemingly canceled in 2008. In the 22 years since this vehicle program began, it is believed that the system was modified and technically enhanced with a different project name attached to the technology. A picture collage of this bizarrely shaped craft is shown as the first image under the Covert Craft section title of this article. The image below is of a concept transmedium vehicle developed by DARPA and the U.S. Navy over 20 years ago. Yeah, here's basically this concept design for one of these vehicle, folks, and doesn't that look awesome? And today, folks, for all you know, this particular vehicle, or basically something modeled similarly to it, might actually exist and is still top secret and classified. Either way, we can only basically submerge about, or basically we can only basically what's the word here I'm looking for, folks? We can only basically we can only basically surmise that's what's actually happening. Now we have this part, folks. The defense contractor of video or flight from the ocean depths, General Dynamics Mission Systems. I probably will get a copyright strike if I look at this video, folks, so maybe I should skip it. General Dynamics Mission Systems. So I probably can't look at that video, folks, so I think I'll skip that one. Either way, we have General Dynamics Undersea Battleship ConOps for Antrax 2017. I think this might be the name of this vehicle here, folks. It can basically be used basically to send out these unmanned or basically manned underwater vehicles, perhaps. Probably unmanned ones. It probably is like a drone carrier or something. Isn't that something, folks? This submarine here image. I think it's basically a concept designed for it. That's all we need, folks, is unmanned vehicles, sending out other unmanned vehicles and basically having them spy on us or us spying on other people. Now, we would say that's a good for us, folks, having this technology. But what happens if China gets it? You want those darts flying? You remember that dart video, folks? Do you want those flying all over us? I mean, China's already basically pierced our airspace already with what happened with that big weather balloon incident, or spy balloon, as it was probably what it really was, folks. So we don't need any more of this. And I have to say, completely disgusting. Either way, now before I basically go further, let me go over here. We have 1 watching. We have 5 watching. That's pretty good. Okay, we have 30 watching. Not bad. Oh, 31 watching. That's perfect, folks. But let's get back to this article. Now, General Dynamics released a promotional video to the public, which was produced over 7 years ago, that shows an unmanned underwater vehicle, UUV, ejecting an object that then turns into a winged craft that flies into the air from the subsea, rather than being one unit, it is 2. The underwater vehicle at 128 in the video is launched using a system to extract and lift the flying vehicle out of the submersible. At 132 in the video, just as it comes out of the ocean, we see the vehicle actually sprout wings from its side and turn into an aerial craft. Yeah, here's a concept video for this, folks. As I said, I'm not going to probably look at it, but it gives you the idea that this submersible vehicle would basically then deploy these drones out of it that would then take flight. Basically, after this mother vehicle, or should I say this mothership, this submarine here, releases them. Either way, you get the idea how this would all work together, folks. As I said, folks, I don't really like this because I don't like the idea of, some of this drone technology being used. As I said, if China gets a hold of it, you most definitely would use it to spy on us. But if we had it, I like the idea of that happening, folks, of we having more advanced technology than anyone else. But still, less technology. What happens if it gets a computer virus or something? What if these drones carry weapons and they malfunction? I sure don't want them basically plowing down a busload of children because one of these unmanned vehicles went haywire. Either way, folks, those are the ideas that basically can happen. Remember, we've killed children before because basically bad information. These were drones basically controlled by human hands. So what happens if one of these drones, basically they're unmanned, they're controlled entirely by computer? What if they get a computer virus or just basically break down and end up killing a bunch of people? Right? Either way, it's a terrifying idea. And I would like to watch the video here, folks, but I don't want to get I don't want to get a copyright strikes because I'm pretty sure General Dynamics will probably copyright strike me if I watch this video, even though it's 7 years old. Yeah. The video is carefully animated to obscure detail and skips over just precisely how the aerial craft propels itself at the moment of exiting the ocean. This is, of course, deliberate. The video is for public viewing. What is not told is that this video is only representative of the full level of development and sophistication of the vehicle years before the video was even made. Such systems were already in use in today's version is far superior than what is depicted. A similar system became operational in 2013 when the U.S. Navy released a still photo of the launch from the USS Providence of unmanned aircraft from the subsea. A photo of the system appears as a third image under the covert craft section titled this article. Should I look at this video, folks? We're running out of time, and I don't want to get a copyright strike. But this video was for public viewing. But yeah, that doesn't mean that I can view it and basically show it all, folks. I mean, the video is up on YouTube. It's basically under general, it's General Dynamics Undersea Battle Space ConUps for NX 2017. So maybe look it up for yourselves, folks. Either way, let's get through this article and stuff like that. We have a bit more to get through. Either way, the Navy has worked on flying submersibles for over 80 years. Yeah, decades, folks. Almost 100 years now they've been wanting to basically develop this. Remarkably, the U.S. Navy's efforts to create such hybrid vehicles extends back to over 8 decades ago. In the September 1945 issue of the Journal of the American Rocket Society, an article was found titled "The Flying Submersible" that references a 1943 effort by the U.S. Navy Bureau of Aeronautics to create aircraft that can enter and exit the subsea. The project referred to this vehicle as the Wadaroo. It was to be powered by novel thermal jet technology. Two of the named defense contractors were Rolls-Royce and Allison Engine. The article alludes to the project having brought the vehicle to a prototype level. The first pages of this article can be read here, and the full article can be read on pages 12 through 14 here. JARS, September 1945. Maybe we'll take a look at that later on, folks, but I kind of doubt we're running out of time. Either way, strangely, the Wadaroo vehicle was never again mentioned in the technical literature, and it is unknown how far this technology ever advanced. We do know that it set the stage for continued development along these lines in the years that have followed. I can believe that, folks. That's probably what happened. Yeah, either way, it probably basically set us on developing this technology, which has been classified, and now at the top levels of secrecy, it's still classified. God knows what we can actually do now, folks. These technology might have advanced to the point where basically that can probably almost be considered magical. Not that I'd actually consider it magical, folks. I'm just saying, God knows what our actual unmanned and manned craft can actually do now, that they can basically freely enter and exit the water at will. Yeah, I mean, are they basically being used by our army at all? I wonder, folks. Either way, let's continue with the article. The involved defense contractors and agencies. The U.S. Navy and DARPA are the organizations within the U.S. government that review, improve, and order such technology. The four major defense contractors engaged in unmanned aerial vehicles, unmanned underwater vehicles, and their aerial underwater hybrids are General Dynamics, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman. These defense contractors employ engineers that are versed in both aerospace and subsea system designs. The major technical challenges that defense contractors had to overcome were essentially twofold: engineering a craft whose physical design would allow it to maneuver in two very different environments, the atmosphere and the subsea. The other challenge was propulsion design, how to propel and navigate an aeronautic vehicle in an underwater environment, and vice versa. The secret that the contractors have kept is that they have solved these challenges. And as I said, folks, God knows what this technology is capable of now. Yeah. A military engineer confesses, "We have craft that can fly into and out of the ocean." Now, before we continue with the article, folks, I'm basically reading through it as fast as I can, and make it still basically as understandable, because, the hour is basically burning up. I want to get this article before it is up. Either way, a military engineer confesses, "We have a craft that can fly into and out of the ocean." Let's read that part now. A defense contractor system engineer with security clearance has provided insight into the technology in an astonishing interview. He has experience in the design and test engineering of both aerospace vehicles and submersible vehicles with major defense contractors. He spoke to this author recently under the understandable condition of anonymity. This engineer has managed managed projects related to highly advanced classified technology systems for air and sea warfare. He has several reasons why he was open to discussion. He believes that a general acknowledgement of such air subsea vehicles will help to dispel this misplaced belief by people that these crafts are all extraterrestrial. He is especially distressed that these man-made craft are not revealed to members of Congress, who are now evaluating the signs of the UFO phenomena. He also has concerns related to flight hazards and safety, in that passing aircraft are not alerted to such underwater-to-air flights. He further explained that the Navy does not always share important technology developments with other rival military branches or other agencies. Often they do not even tell their own Navy pilots. This leads, he said, to sightings of advanced craft that are mistaken to UFOs, even by airmen and officers, because they have not been informed of such technology. Interesting. Yeah, because we don't, basically, these people who control this technology don't feel it, they don't feel it relevant to basically inform other military branches about this technology, which is something that is basically highly illegal, that various branches of the military have said before, folks. If you're going to basically test this technology, inform other branches of it that you have it, because we could end up shooting it down. This is what other branches basically see as basically being a real breach of security and even the law. As far as I understand, I think they're truthful about that, but still seem to go on anyway, sadly. Either way, hopefully in the future there'll be more transparency on this, and perhaps maybe, these other branches of the military will be informed about this, and maybe they'll even inform other people that maybe some of this technology is basically, controlled by the military. They don't have to basically release all the information. I can understand why the government would basically classify some of this stuff, folks. But basically, some of these signs are basically some of the signs that people do see of this stuff are basically thought to basically be UFOs. In reality, they are basically probably the government test flying these aerial vehicles and undersea and aerial vehicles. Either way, that's the thing there, folks. Now, he goes on to state, he states that these hybrid vehicles are not all model scale or prototypes. Many are operational. They can range from small to full vehicles of considerable size. They take on different configurations depending on if they are manned or unmanned, and to accommodate different purposes and conditions. Folks, I can imagine. Yeah, some of these vehicles are used for one way, and other vehicles are used for another, especially if they're unmanned or manned. Sometimes these vehicles are used basically for reconnaissance, others for attack and stuff like that. Either way, they can be armed or used for surveillance. He continues, exercises take places off of coasts, over and in the ocean. As I said earlier, folks, that's probably what they do. Yeah. The engineer is unequivocal on where we are today in the development of these advanced hybrid craft. What you see in the literature and in promotional material from the contractors is technically 15 years ago or more. They don't show you at what stage we're at today. I imagine they don't, folks. But remember, I don't think this information basically accommodates for all sightings of UFOs that people have made, folks, basically entering and exiting the ocean. I think there's something more extraordinary there as well, folks. But I can say that at least some of the sightings are probably basically sightings of these, unmanned and manned craft that the government has made and created. Either way, let's continue once more, folks. Alarmingly, the engineer adds, it's my understanding that we are not the only nation with this capability, and some of these are not friendly nations. He also says, I can tell you that the defense community is more than happy to have the craft mistaken as extraterrestrial UFOs by the public. Yeah, I can imagine that as well, folks. Why wouldn't they? It clouds the issue and it provides a good cover, but the secrecy is out of hand. Even military pilots are not usually informed of these craft, even though they have seen them. Yeah, that's something that should not be allowed to happen, folks. As I said, as far as I know, that's kind of illegal. That actually is illegal, because the government should basically inform its own military branches about, what other military branches are doing. Because there's a good chance we could end up killing maybe one of these manned crafts, or basically bringing it down and finding out that it was one of our own craft, and that we killed the pilots. Yeah, that's an idea there, folks. Now, before I continue, let me go over here, folks. We have 31 watching. That's pretty good. We have 2 watching over there, so not too bad. Yeah, 1 watching there. Let's get back to the article. I just wanted to take a quick look. What they show is not all that they have. These defense contractors show and tell us only what they want to. The fact is that the actual stage of development of these craft is far beyond what they admit to. They are compelled to show technology advantages to the public and politicians because they are funded by taxpayer money. They have to show for it. they have the show for it, not the latest and greatest. We do not want enemy states to know of at what stage we are truly at in the design or deployment of our most advanced military technologies. What they show is impressive, but it is what they do not make public, so-called the black projects, that are far more remarkable. Clandestine engineering design is confined to a small compartment. I can't seem to say this word ever, folks. Compartmentalized core of security cleared engineers who know only part of a project that is needed to perform their jobs. Yeah, and that's something that thing, folks, with compartmentalized, this compartmentalizing, it needs to stop, because apparently, basically, it's so bad now, folks, to the point where it's basically insanity that one part of the government doesn't know what other parts of the government are doing. So that needs to stop. It needs to basically done. We need reforms to stop that sort of thing, folks. I mean, the article itself here basically specifies that parts of their government don't know what other parts of it are doing, and military branches basically have seen this technology, but don't know who is actually controlling it. In reality, it's ourselves, but we don't basically feel the need to basically inform our other branches of military about it. As I said, folks, that is highly illegal. Yeah. Either way, you can see why their government's doing this, folks, because they can get away with it. Which, as I said, we need reforms to stop that sort of thing from happening. Well, we need secrecy, folks. We don't need all this to the point of it. We don't need so much secrecy that's to the point of insanity and basically making things worse. Once more, let's get back to the article, though, because I want to get through it. It's very, very intriguing, folks. All right, where was I? Clandestine engineering design is confined to us. Yeah. Let me try that again, folks. Clandestine engineering design is confined to a small compartmentalized core of security cleared engineers who only know the part of the project that is needed to perform their jobs. The engineers are sometimes replaced by others and moved on to other areas to cycle out. Those who become overly familiar with sensitive projects. Yeah, they do that if they do become overly sensitive and basically overly familiar with these projects, folks. They move them to other areas so they don't know exactly what they're actually working on. They work in one area, then they don't get information about other areas. And if they learn too much about it, they move into another area, again, where they don't know much about it except what they're supposed to work on, folks. This is basically protect the secrets of these projects and make sure that no one gets a full idea exactly what they're working on, so they can't spill the beans on exactly what it is. I can understand why they would do that, folks. As I said, there might be too much secrecy going on because, to the point, folks, where what is actually going on, so much money is involved and so much secrecy is involved that basically no one knows exactly what's going on and has no oversight over that. That's really the problem here, folks, that no one's overseeing this. And the ones that do, they're not telling anyone else because they feel that they can just get away with it. As I said, folks, that's highly illegal and needs to stop. Either way, such black projects require expenditures. The precise names of these black projects are obscured in expenditure reporting. These projects are often referred to by nicknames or in vague or multiple meaning terms. Periodically, the project names themselves are retired and then renamed. Because remember, folks, the best way to basically hide something is basically show it, basically hide it in plain sight. What they do is basically have these, they name these black projects some silly name or other name, then they change the name up again later on, so no one can basically have any oversight over them. You mean that basically no politicians in Congress or the government or the president himself knows exactly what's being funded, because they keep changing things around so they can keep their secrets. As I said, folks, that's something that needs to be stopped. While we need to keep things classified at times, I do believe that all this secrecy to the point of insanity is just too much. And we need reforms over that. We do need reforms. But let's continue again, folks. Defense contractors frequently use small, specialized subcontractors. They develop the components that are then integrated into full systems by the prime defense contractor. This helps to obfuscate the full scope of this technology. What they're saying here, folks, is they basically hire some people to develop one part of an apparatus, and then they integrate that apparatus into the whole and finished design. But the ones designing it don't understand what they're working on. So it continues basically muddying the waters on what is actually being done. And defense contractors are known to file secret patents, which the U.S. Patent and Trade Office Office military advisors agree to be a potential threat to national security if they are disclosed. Such patents will not be published until the technology is no longer considered sensitive by order of the Commissioner of Patents, acting through the Invention Security Act. Invention Secrecy Act, I meant. So, yeah, basically, defense contractors are known to file secret patents and stuff like that, basically trying to, take ownership of the technology they're working on. Yeah. And apparently this is because they work on this technology, they feel that they have a right to own it, folks. I can understand that, but yeah, this technology, and the government themselves say that it's kind of a threat to basically classifying this information. So you can see it from one way to the other. These people who are working on this technology and they develop it, they feel that they own it. And other people feel that, and the government feels that this could basically be a breach of secrecy. And I can see one way and the other how this can basically be important to talk about. Now, we have a few chats. Now, choosy heretics choose Carnate Revolution now. Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers comics are bad for you, depending on how good you are on nailing themes. Well, yeah, I've seen a few of the Furry Freak Brothers stuff before, folks. Thank you for the choosy heretic choose. Thank you for leaving chat. Now we have choosy chat, another chat from them. Is NATO solving the mystery? Because I think that the drones are NATO, for instance. There's a possibility that some of the drone signs are NATO, folks. I will say that. And then we have another chat from Choosy Heretic Choose. Jimmy Dore drones and we don't care. Snoop Dogg drones and we don't care. Jimmy just Snoop drones and we don't care. And NATO's going away. Legal questions mark included. Yeah. NATO isn't exactly the best. Well, NATO's going away? It's the first time I really heard about it. I'm not exactly the biggest. I know that NATO is more or less basically used to basically trying to to be some sort of all I know really about NATO is it's used to basically as a way to basically it has to do with Russia. They're trying to basically with NATO is basically used as a way to defend against Russia and stuff like that. Now, is it going away? Well, I don't know much about it, folks, but maybe it should. But then again, Russia would be able to get away with a great many things in the future if it does go away. So, as I understand, NATO is basically used as a way for various nations to defend against Russia. Is it going away? As I said, I don't know. Let's get back to the article. But thank you for these chats, Choosy Heretic Choose. Now, let's get back to this. Yeah. Either way, some of these patents by the government that are basically being filed by these defense contractors, they find them as threats because basically the government wants to keep this technology secret. But these contractors, they feel that they own this technology. So I can see why we need reforms here, folks. Maybe these people do have a right to own this technology. After all, the government did basically commission them to basically make it, but they worked on it so long that they really do feel that they own it. Now, I can understand why the government wants to keep this secret, folks, because, it is part of this is highly classified military technology, our best weapons, and they want to keep it secret and make sure that no one, our enemies, can know about it yet. So you can see it from one point to the other points. People development feel that they own it because they worked on it so damn long, to the point where they basically kept it secret for so damn long that they should basically be allowed to own it because they made it. Well, the government wants to keep this technology secret because they don't want our enemies knowing about it. You can see it from one point to, you can see one view you can see one person's view and the other person's view here on this. But as I said, folks, some of this technology is so old now, it makes no sense to keep it secret. So I can say that as well. Now, where does this, another chat, okay? Let me look at this chat too. Here's Choosy Heretics Shoes. NATO had no presence in the USA until 3 or so years ago. General military described Jesuit order without mentioning their name at the opening of Norfolk, Virginia, NATO Command Center. Really? That is interesting. Now, as far as I know, NATO isn't supposed to work on U.S. soil, I think. Because after all, it's basically a bunch of nations. NATO is a bunch of nations defending against Russia. So why are we, America, basically having to defend against Russia when Russia is all the way over across the planet? I mean, yeah, we're kind of enemies with Russia and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean we need NATO here. So that is interesting information. Sadly, I don't have a full grasp of it, but thank you, Choosy Heretics Choose, Carnation Revolution now, for basically filling me in on a little of it. That's very interesting indeed. Now, let's read this final part here, folks. Where does this leave? Where does this leave it? Where does this leave ET? The fact that humans have reached the point of being able to submerge into the ocean from the air and back up again does not mean that the visiting alien does not. Given that the Earth's surface is composed of 70% of water, it is likely that they do. If we can move now freely on Earth, land, sea, Earth lands on both on Earth and land and on the seas freely and atmosphere, the extraterrestrial who came to Earth surely can. But as man's craft become more unusual in design and more capable than ever, over time it will become more difficult to distinguish between things that are man-made and things that are not made by man. Okay, I agree with that, folks. Indeed. If ET is visiting us, then yeah, they can most certainly they have craft that can submerge under the water and travel anywhere. Unfortunately, as our technology advances further, folks, and our technology becomes more alien-looking, it'll make it much harder to distinguish actual alien craft from basically our own manned or unmanned, or unmanned and manned vehicles. That will probably happen as well, especially if we're basically reverse engineering any of their technology. Either way, it's certainly something very fascinating to think about. Either way, folks, we've got another chat. Okay, we have a few more chats. Here we have a few more chats. Here's Choosy Heretics Choose. His speech is very interesting and worthless. It's about 20 minutes long and available on the tube. Are you talking about me? Well, I guess. I wouldn't say that. I'm sorry if you didn't enjoy my live stream, Choosy Heretics Choose. I'm just reading this guy's article, and I thought it was very interesting and informative and inform other people. In fact, maybe with me basically telling other people about it, maybe they'll look at more information on it. Now, Lo, it's worth a listen, and it's not worthless. You mean basically, you might. I don't think you're referring to me then. Maybe you're talking about basically the NATO and basically this other thing. Yeah, I think it could very well be. Yeah, it is indeed probably very, very, very. It's not worthless at all. I just don't know who you're actually referring to. Choosy Heretic Choose. Sorry if I'm basically not doing that. Either way, it's very you have basically told me very interesting things about what's going on with basically NATO, and I'm very glad about that. Either way, yeah. Now we have one final chat. I'll save you the trouble of finding the highlights that he describes a nearly 500-year-old global order of supposed cooperation, stewardship, and security. That old basically New World Order. That basically, the New World Order, conspiracy theory, folks. It's not that this thing it's not that this isn't real, folks. It's the fact that maybe for 500 years people have been trying to basically build a New World Order, and I can see to some level that could be what's going on, but also to other people saying that, it might be not exactly the whole truth either. I'm saying, folks, Choosy Heretic Choose. He basically once more talking about how basically various powers of the world are trying to cooperate with each other to build a new world order and control how the world is. Yeah. And this has been going on for centuries. To some extent, I can see that some merit in that idea. There's other things about that that you should also know about. That people who want to control the world like this, they're all psychopaths, and they all basically, will basically stab each other in the back. Now, he basically mentions about the 500-year conspiracy to take over the world. Well, a lot of these people, if they basically have been working so hard to do that, remember, these people are all psychopaths and will basically turn on each other the second they get any kind of chance. It's like a real Game of Thrones. So unless they actually are friends, which I highly doubt, I highly doubt that they are all actually friends here, folks. I'm saying the conspiracy of basically the New World Order isn't as bad as you think it is. While it is truly bad, folks, and some of these people do work with each other to try and take over the world, a lot of them will turn on each other as soon as they have the chance, as I said. These people can still do a lot of damage even by themselves or in small groups and stuff like that. What I'm trying to say there, folks, is that the New World Order, as Choosy Heretic Choose said, there basically was a conspiracy of cooperation, and clandestine control by various powers of the world to try and make sure the world basically happens to their whims. But as I said before, folks, a lot of these people tend to basically turn on each other and will basically sabotage themselves so they themselves can take a head in power and basically get more power for themselves. I'm just saying that basically, folks, is that while there might be a conspiracy for the various powers to basically try to rule the world, they're so psychopathic and will turn on each other that they will probably just fail, at least in a lot of instances. Now, sometimes these people can work together for basically for some time, but as I said, folks, I think a lot of these people, because they're so power hungry, they always basically turn on each other. I'm not saying that the New World Order doesn't exist because they all turn on each other. I'm just saying that these people, their nature always basically eats themselves up. And they can do a lot of damage in the interior between them basically forming and then basically turning on each other. They can do a lot of damage. And you've seen that before, folks, with various people pointing out various things where such groups have done things. Yeah. Sometimes these groups aren't even just one group. It's not just one group, because sometimes the so-called New World Order, it's several different groups trying to work independently of each other, because they're basically like the elite of the world. They want basically money and power. Sometimes they'll work with other people in other areas and other nations and to get more power. Yeah, and usually they're opposed by other people who basically don't like them or basically want power for themselves. I'm not saying that basically there's not some vast conspiracy. I'm just saying it's basically probably several different groups of elites trying to work independently of each other, trying to get more power for themselves. And this is why they will never really basically dominate the world, because not only will they turn themselves, they also have to worry about other elites and other psychopaths basically fighting them left and right to try to take more power for themselves. Now, how does this relate to what I'm talking about today, folks, with this submersible technology that we've developed? Well, that's easy. I'm glad that basically Choosy Heritage Choose did bring this up, folks. Now, it's the industrial military complex that we have to worry about here, which is basically part of all of this. Basically, the military wants money and wants more power, and basically it'll use the industrial sector to get that power, and the industrial sector themselves also want more money and power, so they also basically use the military. How does this basically relate to all of this? Well, these elites that I've talked about earlier with the New World Order and basically maybe these other smaller groups that want more power for themselves, they use the industrial military complex to enrich themselves and to get more power. And most definitely they do that. So you can see how it all works together and how basically, these aircraft that can basically be used to basically enter and next to the water are just yet another front for all of this military industrial complex, all this scheming, all this strategizing. They gain more power over the world. It's just another front for it and stuff like that. Either way, that's just my idea there. Either way, we have another chat from Choosy Heritage Choose. Let's see basically what he says. They are in fact a malignant narcissist hive mind of abuse and neglect and obstruction. Inquisitors posing as diplomats. Knights of Malta report to Jesuit archbishops an unconstitutional hierarchy. Yeah, folks, that is true, folks. That is most definitely true. But it's only part of it as well. Now, here we have another chat. Inducted corruption is not race, religion, ethnicity, nationality, gender, age group, zodiac, political party, economic, ism, or diagnosis. It just hides within and behind. And that's why basically they always turn on each other. Now, as I said, folks, this New World Order, as basically, I'm saying it's a New World Order here, at least how these people see themselves. They will never really dominate the world because they can't, as he said, folks, that they're narcissists and they're psychopaths. And they will always turn on each other. That's why I think there's hope for the world, because these people, these elites who want this power, they always turn on each other and they always fail. You can see it with what happened in World War II with Hitler, who wanted to take over the world. He basically ended up, due to the various things that happened, he basically ended up defeating himself, at least to some degree. We have another chat as well, folks. Now, cheers, Chris. I'm glad I found this channel, even if it's just you and me today. Thank you for basically being here, folks, choosing Heritage Jews. Now, greetings from New Jersey and to birthplace of the completed soap note for peaceful revolution Olympian solution. It's interesting. I guess that has something to do with New Jersey, because I'm not quite sure what you meant there, but thank you for this, for what you just said there. Either way, indeed, folks, what we have here with basically these, another chat. I just keep my drapes closed. Okay, that's pretty good as well. Thank you. Either way, what we talked about today, folks, is that more power and more influence the government does with basically developing this technology with developing this technology that they've been developing for over 8 years. These submersible and aerial vehicles is just yet another front in basically the power play that's the industrial military complex, and to basically to keep ahead of our enemies that we have here on Earth. Now, how does this relate to ET? Well, maybe some of this technology reverse engineered, or maybe some of these signs of these alien vehicles that we think are some of these military vehicles, maybe they are indeed alien. We just don't know for sure. Unfortunately, in the future, it'll basically be harder to tell which is which anymore. Either way, I think I said my piece and we had some fun, but we're at the end. So please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. The there's misspelled, it's THERE. It's Read Comics They're Bad For You. Yeah, it's supposed to be Read Comics They're Bad For You. Yeah, but so I purposely misspelled it there in the title of my YouTube channel. It's Read Comics They're Bad For You. THERE. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell that will give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. Another chat. Here we have another chat from Choosy Heritage Choose. There are 13,500 inducted Immune Order of Malta Minions global roster and 3,500 in the U.S. alone. However, no number of rosters are reported for the other 120 nations. They are spread. You mean basically these are, what's the name I'm looking for here? These groups, they're basically they're terrorist cells, more or less. Yeah, I can see that as well, folks. Yeah, and these groups, these elites, they're basically terrorist cells themselves. So I can see that too. Either way, folks, remember, go and subscribe to Dark Sayings. Dark Sayings is like the Art Bell radio show, or like my own show. He does short videos on High Strangeness, but he also does live streams around 10 o'clock p.m. at night, where he talks about ghosts, monsters, cryptids, people carrying basically, UFOs, USOs, maybe even government vehicles, like we talked about tonight, folks. People carrying, God, or even cryptids like Bigfoot and Mothman, and you'll learn something new every time you watch one of Dark Sayings live streams. So go subscribe to him up on YouTube and on BitChute. Another chat from Choosy Heretic Choose. Albert Pike was Roman loyal in collecting secret society merit badges. He wasn't clairvoyant. Albert Pike. That's a name I think I've heard before, folks. Yeah, is he basically? Yeah, was he loyal to basically these clandestine operations and groups, basically like these conditioned groups? Like, let me try it again. Albert Pike. I think I've heard the name before. I think he might have been maybe loyal to these various groups that the elite basically are all about, like basically Satanism and maybe taking over the world with their New World Order. Maybe. I'm not quite sure about that, folks. All I know is I think I've heard about the name Albert Pike before. And yet we have another chat. A military-industrial complex is just another sector dominated by Knights of Malta, immune minions, and the Knights Malta leave the military around by the nose is unconstitutional. Indeed, folks, that's exactly what we see here, basically with the various military branches of the military having all this secrecy. In fact, the military itself basically says that that's illegal. You should basically inform other military branches about the various things the government is doing and basically developing, because we don't want to shoot down our own craft. And yeah, these Knights of Malta and these military industrial complex, they really are a threat to our way of life. Do I think that these groups actually exist, folks? To some extent, as I said, I do. But really, it's the military-industrial complex. As I said, it's basically, as I said, it goes hand in hand with the various elites of the world who want more money and power. Either way, and basically these Knights of Malta and stuff like that, and these Knights and these other groups, they're all basically, symptoms of various elites of the world trying to gain more power and money for themselves. And if some of these groups do go back hundreds of years, well, congratulations. These groups have been looking for power for hundreds of years and basically doing various bad things. As I said, folks, they might exist. They're just but they can still be fought. Now we have another chat. Let's see here. Let's see what happened in Portugal, April 25th, 1974. Isn't just a great story with a great theme. It's important in a constitutional legal precedence and a template for all of us to follow in simultaneously. Good. I don't know exactly what you mean, but yeah, I can understand if that basically meant that there was more transparency and basically our government acting better. Then yeah, most definitely that's a good thing. Now, folks, please go over and subscribe to Robot Co-op. Robot Co-op is like that old TV show, Mystery Science Theater 3000. You know that TV show where that guy is trapped in outer space with these two wisecracking robots and they're forced to watch bad movies and then they roast them? Well, Robot Co-op is a live streaming gaming channel, but they have their own wisecracking robots and they basically play good and they play video games. They play good games, they play bad video games, but they roast the hell out of them. It's like being at a party. You sit back, eat something and drink something and have a good time. Yeah. And you're going to love their live streams on Twitch on Sunday, folks, because they're just great to watch. So go subscribe to Robot Co-op on YouTube and on Twitch. Then go subscribe to Stitched Together Picks. Stitched Together Picks is a horror movie review channel hosted by the maniacal cinephile who has multiple personalities. You're not just getting one character, you're getting a whole lot of them. All of them are fun. Go subscribe to Stitched Together Picks up on YouTube. Now we have another chat, folks. They turn on each other because they are a heinous political monopoly, as well as Pope Clement XIV described them in 1773. A political monopoly that poses otherwise. Indeed, folks, that is the truth. These elites, they always turn on each other because they want more money and power. So I think that's a good thing right there, folks, because they always are evil, and evil consumes itself. Now, folks, please remember, down in the chat or in the descriptions, I left links. I left links to YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch or BitChute, Dark Saints, Robot Co-op, and Stitched Together Picks. Okay? Remember, folks, use those links and go subscribe to those guys I just mentioned. Dark Saints and, Stitched Together Picks. But I really want you to use those links and go subscribe to my own channels up on YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch or BitChute, because I'm going to upload 2 videos a day exclusive to Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, and BitChute very soon. So use those links and go subscribe to me. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back soon and we'll have some more fun. I'll be back tomorrow with another great live stream. So until then, folks, as always, bye.